Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of our deconditioning series. We are so excited that you are joining us here today, whether that is live or in the replay. We love having you here. So, this modality has been very near and dear to my heart. Whenever somebody looks at me and they're like, "What are you talking about? What is somatic?" I'm like, "Oh, let me tell you about how amazing it is." So, rather than me having explain what it is, we're going to have an expert come and tell us what somatic work is and her journey and how it has not only changed her life, but the people that are around her. So, very excited. Carrie, if you've seen her face, you will know she looks a little familiar. That's because she was a part of our profile party series and she was our 5-2 generator guest. So we are welcoming her back today. So without further ado, let's bring out the magical Carrie.
Hello.
Hello. We are so excited to have you. How are you feeling today?
Amazing. I just love that you described me as magical.
I mean, anyone who is a generator in my eyes are already magical. So you can ask Danny about that during the chart reading. I'm like, all
Yeah,
generators are magical. Like what? But then you do
I love it.
somatic, so you're like extra magical. So and
Yeah,
your profile is also very, very intriguing. So you
yes.
kind of know a little bit about that after being a part of the profile party series.
Yeah, so fun. And I'm so
Right.
excited to be back again and just chat about something that I love. So, yeah, excited
Amazing.
tonight.
So maybe what we'll do first, because I got everybody all excited, is let's explain what on earth is somatic work. So a
Mhm.
concise explanation for complete noobs who are like, what is that? Some word.
Yeah. So it's basically a body-based type of a therapy. So a lot of people know about talk therapy, where you go in and you sit and you chat about all the things. And somatic therapy is going to be very much about being in the body and really feeling through what's in the body through our breath and our sound and our movement, and really just becoming familiar with the intelligence of our body and how it communicates to us. And it's such a beautiful process to just really get to know how our body works and how it communicates through somatic therapy. Yeah.
That's amazing because human design is all about getting back into your body, right?
Yes.
It's like intuition lives in your body.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
for so much of our, you know, just existence is like in the logical mind of like, I need to figure it out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's so exciting. So, the next thing I want to know is what drew you to somatics? What was
Hmm.
different about somatic versus like all these other modalities that are present?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, there's quite a journey for me as far as coming to this modality. And basically, I am an empath. I feel a lot, and it was really intense and didn't really know how to navigate that most of my life. And so, one of the coping mechanisms that I created was eating disorders and just really numbing out and just really checking out for my body and not feeling all the things because it was just too much and I didn't know how to navigate that. And so went through that process for about 10 years and really came to a place where I was just done. It wasn't working. It wasn't helping. It was really a pretty painful time of my life, a very dark time. And during that, I was going to therapy and experiencing all the things that I thought was going to be helpful, and it really didn't get me anywhere because that's not what I needed. I really needed to get into my body and be able to learn how to listen to it and honor it and express it so that I didn't stuff it down and numb it, because it just doesn't work. You have to feel it to heal it. And so that really just kind of took me on this whole journey of kind of figuring out how do I do that, and came across a coaching program that was specifically for eating disorders and helping people with coming through the disordered eating and their relationship with their body. And the coaching program shifted more into general. It wasn't so specific to eating disorders and disordered eating, and more of a somatic coaching. And I actually became one of the employees of it. So I went through the program and then worked for them for 5 years. So it's Pause Somatic Coaching, and they also teach breath work as well. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, you basically interned.
Yes.
You interned, you learned all the ropes, the ins
Mhm.
and outs. What a way to do it, and half a decade doing it. That is some generator, what's the word I was going to say? Generator, dedication, if I've ever heard it. To be able to be
Yeah.
like, nose to the grindstone. Let's
Mhm.
really go deep and like get really, really good at this. So it's so
Yeah.
fun to see like people's designs like,
Play
peeking
out.
out, yeah,
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
the things that they do and, when they start falling more and more into alignment. So that's super exciting to see
Mhm.
that. I don't know if anyone ever told you that. It's like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, I love that. And I honestly, I am somebody who I have to touch the stove. I have to actually experience it to understand it. And that's been really painful with a lot of things in my life because I've got a really colorful life experiences. And it creates a lot of wisdom and empathy within me because I've experienced it. And that's one thing when it comes to just all of the modalities. I've dipped my toes in all of them, and the somatic has just been so powerful and so healing for me and transformational. So it's just really fun to be able to guide people through those processes and just feel more comfortable with their body and how it expresses.
Right. So the thing you mentioned about needing to experiment in many different ways before to learn something. So what I want to quickly do is look at how many. So this is a new thing I'm learning. I don't know everything in human design. I am learning as I do the show. So this is fun. So in human design, the line 3 is
Mhm.
the one that learns through trial and error by like literally physically bumping into the thing.
Mhm.
So even if it's not a part of your profile, right? Your profile's 5-2. If there's many threes present in other parts of your chart, so this is a
Ah,
fun thing you can bring up to Danny later. It will. So let me count. One, two, oh, three, four. It's in both of your nodes. That's crazy. Five. Okay, as far as I can tell, there's five. So if you want to write down a question for later time, you could be
okay.
like, what does me having a line 3 in both conscious and unconscious nodes mean?
Okay.
Because the nodes is kind of the trajectory of your life. So the south node is what it is before the age of 40. And then after the age of 40 is when you start falling into your north node.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm 46, so I'm in the
So
north node.
perfect because you've already passed your Uranus opposition. So but your node, both of them are that line. So
Interesting.
exciting. Yeah, he'll tell you all about the nodes. It gets very interesting. But
Mhm.
back to somatics and how you found it. So what I
Yeah.
wanted to know is how did it influence the way you think or even
Mhm.
your beliefs, how you carry yourself really on like a
Mhm.
day-to-day basis?
Mhm. It changed everything, because I had spent most of my life feeling like my emotions and my feelings were a nuisance and something that needed to be shut out, shut down, and wanted to avoid it because it was super uncomfortable. And not only do I feel my feelings, but I also feel other people's feelings and emotions being an empath. So it's like I've got this whole modge podge of all the stuff that's going on in my body, and I just didn't know how to navigate it. And I thought it was um, like it was something that was a nuisance, and it was something that was I don't know, like my kryptonite. It was the thing that really just kind of wasn't helpful and was frustrating to be. And so once I came to a place of understanding that no, this is actually my superpower to be able to feel my emotions and to be able to be empowered to be able to know how to process through them and do it in a healthy way, not where I'm just spewing it out because it's just build, 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 or that I'm avoiding it and now I have physical pain in my body or physical illness in my body that's manifested from this stagnant energy that's in my body. And so it just becomes this shift of empowerment, and so it's changed everything. I have the ability to be able to just tune into my body on a regular basis. At first, it was very, very conscious. I had to constantly tune in of, okay, because eating disorder was my kind of MO. If I wanted to go to food, it was like, hold on, pause for a second. Am I feeling something and I'm just trying to avoid it and just go to the thing that feels like the safest and will kind of give me that instant comfort, but doesn't really. And so I had to really consciously tune into, am I feeling angry right now? Am I feeling sad right now? Where do I feel that in my body? And now it's automatic. I know it. I feel it. I know where I'm holding the energy in my body and I know how to move through that. And so it becomes a very just almost an unconscious practice now of just knowing my body and knowing what it needs to be able to process through the thing.
I was going to say, how many times did you have to do it consciously before it became unconscious?
Yeah. Good question. I don't know. It was
I was gonna
it
say
was
another way to look at it is like maybe by time frame. It's like, did you do it for 6 months? Did you do it for a
yeah.
year? Was it like 5 years before you noticed, wait a minute, now I'm just able to do it on autopilot kind of thing?
I would say definitely a good year of being very committed and dedicated to it just because I was so disconnected from my body and disassociated from it. So it was this reintroduction and a new and finding that relationship with my body again because I just didn't feel it. And that's something that's super common with people that work with me is I don't know. I don't know what I feel. I don't know if I feel anything in my body. And we just get really, really good at disconnecting from it and disassociating from it. And so it becomes this process of coming back to it, feeling safe to actually be in the body and feel it. And it usually isn't a instant shift to be able to do that. That's not what I've noticed with people and with myself is that there is a titration and a process of getting to a place where it's just natural to do that. So definitely a good year of deep connection and like commitment to, okay, I'm going to shift my patterns and behaviors of the way that I'm responding to my body and what's happening around me and how I respond to the experiences. And then probably like a couple years after that. So I would say probably a good 3 to 4 years of really being committed to it. And now it's just my life.
I was gonna say that's such dedication. I was like, yeah, when you were mentioning that there's a disconnect, right? One of the words that popped into my head is like, you go numb.
You do.
You're kind of numb. You're like feelings. Like I think it was just like semi recently where I noticed that okay, last time I was watching a sappy movie and I feel tears coming on, but before the tears came, like
Yeah.
I got this like tight, itchy sensation on the tip of my nose.
Wow.
And I was like, "Huh, I don't think I ever like consciously paid attention that comes first before the tears come."
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, so you're becoming more sensitive to the process of emotions coming through.
Yeah, or like another thing that I've always noticed is if it's I thought this was genetic, but then I find out no, it's just like a thing. If I hear a song that really moves me, I will get like have you ever used those like head scratchy
Yes.
things? It
Yeah.
feels like that, but
Yeah.
like that and like a
That's
combination of that
cool.
and like fingers like running down my
Yeah.
skull.
Oh, that's cool. See, and that's what's so cool about it. I love that you shared that, is because we're all different. There is no like, this is how this works. We're all made so unique and so differently that what the sensation that you get when you become emotional or when a song comes on that you love is going to be completely different than me and everyone else. I love that. And it's kind of fun because then you get to explore yourself and how you respond and how your body communicates.
I just saw an amazing human design correlation to what you said, right? Because we're always like,
True.
everyone's body graph is different. So the way you described it, it's like, no, the sensations you feel in your body isn't going to be the same for the next person or the next person. So
Right.
I was like, wow. So it really is like you learning your body's
Yes.
signals
Yeah.
to you, and that might not be the same for anyone else. Wow.
Mhm.
Now I really do want to know more.
I know, right? That would be
Just
super cool if some of the sensations that you feel in your body are connected to your human design. Yeah.
Or well, that's another thing we can ask, Danny, or you can
Yeah,
ask Danny when
I
it's like,
will.
What does this mean when I feel this or that?" Yeah, that would be very, very cool. The other thing that I wanted to know, so you kind of explained your journey and the pivotal moments. One of the other things I want to know is like in the people that you worked with, what are some very clear shifts that you noticed?
Mhm. I mean, so let me see if I can think of a specific experience. Honestly, I feel like I want to use more of a general. So, what ends up happening is there becomes a connection to the sensations that we feel in our bodies. So, when I take somebody through a somatic process, if they're feeling something in their body and they don't know what it's connected to, we can go through a process where we go into the sensation and we go through just really being with it. And it is 100% the person who is experiencing the sensation that's guiding it. I'm just asking questions to help kind of bring them to the understanding of what it's actually speaking to, or what it's trying to express and feel. And so when they do that, what ends up coming forward is realizations of inner child wounds and all this programming and blocks and things like that that are in the sensation that you just didn't think like, oh, I'm feeling a tightness in my chest, like it's just a tightness in my chest. But when you allow yourself to go in there, you see, oh my gosh, I have heartbreak from when my mom, this and this at 5 years old. And it's wild what it will unlock. And so what ends up happening is people start to heal these deep wounds from the sensations that are active in their body right now, and then they go forward with pattern disrupts, and they shift their perspective of their relationship with their mom, or they shift their perspective of that experience when they were younger. And so there becomes this whole shift within them around the healing that they needed. So those are, I mean, and I could get specific, but it has so much to do with a lot of inner child work, that what's happening right now is actually an activation of something that happened when they were 3 or 5, and it just got activated because that wound is still present and it's still there, and it came up with this thing that was similar, but it's not the same. Say their dad was really hard on them, and now they have a husband that like expects them to be perfect. And so that this is happening right now, where the husband is this and that, and they're feeling a sensation in their body. But when they go deep in, then they're able to really see, oh, this is connected to my dad and how he expected me to have perfect grades growing up. And so they can start working on the healing of that.
I was going to say it feels like, it's like reliving that thing, right? So it's just
Yeah.
like a reminder. It's like a little
Mhm.
alarm clock. Your body's like, "Hey,
And
this
that's the
thing."
thing. If we don't move through it and we actually process it and create a completion of that trauma, it stays stored in our body. And then
Mm,
we attract in experiences that are similar to it but we're not a victim of, oh my gosh, why does this keep happening to me? It keeps happening because the original wound was never actually processed and healed. So it's more of those
mm.
situations are coming in that are similar to activate it, to then now in the real time work through it and move through it that you couldn't do and you didn't have the ability to do when you were 5.
Right. It's one of those things that, you only do as much as you can with what you know,
Yeah.
right? And it's like when you're 5,
You
there's
don't have the ability to, and
yeah,
that's the thing is that we did the best that we could with what we knew and where we were
exactly.
at, and a lot of the times, creating certain patterns and behaviors is the best option for us at 3 and 5 and 4, but then as an adult, it doesn't serve us anymore, and it's actually really debilitating, and it's not helpful, and so it's time to clear that and work through it, and
Mhm.
doing it through the process of somatic therapy is really, really powerful. The thing that I wanna plant here is, with it as well, is that there's nothing wrong with talk therapy. I
Mhm.
actually love to blend the 2 together, and really just allow some processing of sharing about the thing be there as well, because there's a lot of power in being able to speak it out and talk about the thing, but then let's go in. Okay, now we've got the context. Now let's go in and let's feel and let's process.
Like, it's complementary, right?
Yes.
They help each other,
Mhm.
no modality's an island.
No, one is not there's I mean, really, if we can mix and blend and not separate and go, "This one's better than this one," it's just not true. They're all helpful in their own ways. And when we can blend and really bring in what's the medicine right now that's the most helpful, and maybe
Mm.
talking about the thing is actually gonna be the most helpful. Or maybe let's not talk about it, let's just cry our eyes out and maybe have a good scream, and that's what's actually gonna be really helpful. So, there's so many different ways that we can work on ourselves and connect with ourselves and understand ourselves, and it's not just one thing.
You just like again, you keep reminding me of human design. Because human design is exactly that too, right? It's like a
Yeah.
blend of like astrology and like the chakra system and Kabbalah and the I Ching and
Yeah.
combining all of that into like a beautiful thing. It's just like, ah. So yes, it's the same for deconditioning. And I love that you mentioned it's like, hey, it depends on one, who you are, and two, and what
Yes.
stage of deconditioning you're in, because all of us are in very different stages, and of course we
Mhm.
react to things very differently, so got to
Mhm.
try them all and see which one resonates. And
Yeah.
somatic is a beautiful tool to help you again get in touch with your body, which again is going to
Mhm.
get you in touch with your authority, which in human design is how you get your intuitive pings on how to make decisions.
Right. Right.
Right? Which is again another thing you can ask Danny about if you don't remember yours
Yeah.
off the top of your head. So one of the things that some people might be asking, or might be confused about, is so what are the common misconceptions about somatic work that they might commonly tell you, and you're like, that's not exactly how it goes.
I feel like in when I first started about 6 years ago, I felt
Mhm,
like this was a little bit more common to what I noticed with people, not so much now. I feel like more and more people are understanding the importance of getting into the body, processing and feeling our emotions, but when I
mhm,
first started out, it was like, does that actually work? Like, does that I
mhm,
mean, it's therapy. That's the only way that I'm gonna be able to actually work through my things. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize, oh, actually that sometimes it works. And for me, it didn't work. That's not what I needed. I didn't need to talk about the things. It got me nowhere. It literally
mm.
just looped me and actually kept me in the
It's like
story.
spinning your wheels.
Yeah, and it was just like it kept me in all of it, and I didn't need that. I needed somebody to help me to get into my body and help me to actually process and feel what was actually in there so that
Mhm,
I wasn't just constantly stuffing it down. So I feel like in the past, it was
mhm,
like, I don't know if that doesn't work. Oh, just like scream and breathe and like feel a certain emotion and allow it to like move in whatever way it wants
mhm,
to move in. Like that,
mhm.
like, does that actually work? I felt like that was more of it felt like it was more of a woo woo thing in the past. And I feel like more and more people are realizing the power of breath, sound, movement, and how that really truly does help us to process through what's stored in our body.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I personally don't have a lot of people that are like, that this doesn't, like, I don't understand what this is. I feel like more and more people are understanding that the power of movement, the power of breath, and the power of sound.
Amazing. So, the next thing I would like to ask you is, so what do you want people to take away from after they do the demo with you? Like,
Mhm.
if again, it's always easier if sometimes you highlight things for people to know what they should look out for. So then when it happens, they're like, oh, yeah, Carrie mentioned that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is, I mean, and maybe during the demo, they might not feel emotions that come up, but maybe there might be some emotions that come up. We're not going to be doing it for a super extended period of time. And so sometimes when we're in a process, a somatic process, it's super common for emotions to come up,
Mhm.
and people feel a lot of the times can feel fear around that, or they don't want, oh, I don't want to cry. It's pretty wild to witness people that their relationship with their tears and their emotions, and how we have been so programmed to just stuff that down and, don't cry, don't express your rage, or whatever emotions that are there. And so the biggest thing is just, if there's an emotion that comes up, let it move through. It's so powerful, it's so empowering, and it's really important. We've got to have a better relationship with our emotions and allow ourselves to feel that and understand them and see that they're actually happening for us, and they're actually a gift. It is such a gift to be an emotional human, and to be able to process through and feel our rage, feel our sadness, feel our grief, feel our happiness, because it's all the same package. The more that we broaden our emotional landscape and allow ourselves to feel our sadness, it expands the landscape to be able to feel deeper happiness. And so when we pinch ourselves off from feeling, then we're pinching ourselves off from feeling all the things. And so the more we allow ourselves to feel, the more alive we are, and the more we're able to express and experience and feel safe to be able to do that. Not very many people feel safe to be able to cry because their parents told them, like, big boys don't cry, or, you keep it all together. You need to be prim and proper. And so, no, let yourself cry. So just let yourself experience whatever comes forward, and whether it's some anger that comes up, like, let it move through. It's such a healthy thing to process through that.
Amazing. Thank you for that. I was like, oh man, I see all these awesome things in your chart, which explains everything you're talking about,
I'm so excited to hear.
especially the emotional stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
without further ado, we are going
Mhm.
to now have the beautiful, wonderful Carrie give us a demonstration of somatic work. So
Mhm.
now it's just going to be you taking it away, and I will pop away.
Actually, do you want to, I know that you just went, do you want to demo? Do you
Uh,
want to demo with
sure,
me?
if you need a guinea pig, this
Yeah,
is I
that
will
would be
serve.
awesome. Are you okay with that?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, good. Yeah. So, would you like me to start?
Of course.
Okay. So, what we'll do, and I would love for those that are watching, that they also participate as well with you. But I think it'll be helpful to have you be in that process so that they can see that. And it also can be kind of an invitation to do it along with you and not feel like they're, just doing it by themselves. They feel like they've got a friend with them.
Yay.
Yeah. So when it comes to somatic work, there's a couple of different ways that we can go about it. And typically, when I'm doing a session, I'm working through all three. So we're going to be working through breath, sound, and movement. But
Mhm.
for this demo, we're going to be working through sound. And the reason why we do breath, sound, and movement is because emotions move. Emotions. So they need to be in
I
motion.
was gonna say
Emotions
energy and
move.
motion.
Yes, energy and motion. And so emotions need to move, and they move through breath, sound, and movement.
Mhm.
So we're going to do some sounding. We're going to create some sound and allow
Okay.
ourselves to just feel what it feels like to create some sound in our body and what kind of comes up in our body.
Okay.
So, if you would like to close down your eyes, you can do that. Or if it feels safer for you to just create a soft gaze towards the ground or towards somewhere in your room, just to really just kind of start tuning into your body. So, whether you have your eyes open or closed, first just starting with some couple of deep, nourishing breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Another deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just continually breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you do, just connecting into your body. And just tuning into if there's anything that's drawing your attention and your awareness. If there's a sensation that's in your body, whether it's physical, there's a tightness, or maybe there's an emotion in your body, just tuning into where you feel that in your body. Just really paying attention to where is your awareness going? And just say that in your mind's eye, or you can say it out loud, where you feel the sensation and where your awareness, your consciousness is being drawn to. And just really start honing your energy into that space, using your breath and using your awareness. And now the invitation is with that exhale, just creating a sound that you feel like matches the sensation, whether it's physical or emotional. And maybe the sound is a ha.
I was going to say the sound I have in my mind is not a pleasant sounding sound.
Mhm, mhm. So if you would
I'm
like
like,
to
does
mute
anyone want to hear this out loud?
this,
I don't think
if
so.
you wanna mute yourself, you can do that and just allow yourself to express it. Allow
I
yourself
was
to
gonna
feel that.
say I will describe it to people,
Yeah.
so it'll sound like bee buzzing. So I'm just gonna make that sound, and you
Uh-huh.
don't have to hear it.
Beautiful. So those that are on the call, also just tuning into what sound is being invited to be expressed and just giving yourself that permission to express it on that exhale. It may sound weird, it may be loud, it may be really soft and gentle. Just intuitively tuning in, trying to get out of the head and just dropping into the sensation and just allowing it to be expressed. So, with every exhale, just creating that sound. Noticing if it's desiring to shift. Maybe it's going from a ah to a ooh. Noticing how that feels in your body as you're creating the sound. If there's any thoughts that are in your mind, notice them and then come back to the sound. Beautiful.
Okay, I'm done making those sounds. It helped.
How did it feel for you? How did that
So,
feel in your body?
um, I noticed I was ignoring like a slight, I guess, a pressure headache that was happening. Um, and it felt like a bunch of like bees swarming around in my head.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, when it went from like a bee sound to eventually just like a
Mhm.
like once the bees calm down.
Yes. I love that. And so what ends up happening a lot of the time, so this is such a great example. So what can happen is you have that buzzing and then it kind of settles and then something else arises. So as we're moving through this process, then something else comes up. Maybe it's in the shoulder. So then we tune into that and we create a sound for that. And then we can move into the heart space. And then ultimately we're going to move into a place where maybe where we originated, or maybe into a completely different space in the body where there's emotion that can start coming up. And then all of a sudden there's an understanding, a connection to what that is from, or not. Sometimes there's just no knowing where or why, but that it just needed to be felt. And I feel better afterwards. And that's really powerful. Knowing that we don't always have to know why it's there, and but just be with it and allow it to be expressed and heard and felt, and that we eventually ultimately feel lighter afterwards through being with it and tending to it. Sometimes it's within a couple of minutes, sometimes it's days of continually coming back to it and being with it.
Yeah, I was going to say just like, oh, no, just
Yeah,
notice it again, just like gentle nudges, bringing it back. So that
exactly.
sounds similar to when we were talking about mindfulness last week.
Awesome. Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, so it's nice to see. What was I going to see? Your like the connection between like all the modalities, right? You're like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, there it is. So, what was I going to say now? So that was the end of our demo. So usually during this time, I would have Danny come on and give you the chart reading,
Yeah.
but Danny is still trying to
Yeah.
figure out his sound. So what I can do is I can do some of the reading for you.
Awesome.
So you'll have a different perspective on the things. Of course, I am nowhere near as seasoned as he is. So it's going to be a wee bit more basic. So I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
And until he is ready, or if he will be ready, I will be happy to answer whatever questions I can. So, how does that
Awesome.
sound?
I
Okay,
love it.
magical. So, how about you? Okay, yes. So it'll just be me for now, and we will have Danny again go over. Maybe having a conversation with me will make what's the word I'm looking for? Have you have a thing like a spark. That's the word I'm looking for. A spark him to be like, "Oh, can you like tell me more about this thing?" or something like that. Does that make
Cool.
sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I'm going to ask you, when you look at your charter, well, from what you remember,
Yeah.
what are the things that you are curious about? Or, what's going on that you would like more clarity on? And again, I will try my best with my very not as experienced experience to
Well, you
walk
know a
you through
lot more
it.
than I do, so whatever you share with me will be valuable, I promise. I'm I've Danny has done a reading for me a long time ago, and there was powerful information in that, and I didn't really go much further into diving into it because it just felt like this huge, wild, intense rabbit hole to go into. And so I love that you guys are doing this to be able to just help people to really digest it and apply it and make it work for them and understand it. So honestly, I know that I'm a 5-2 split. And I do remember that there was a crisis line. That was one that was like really interesting to me. And one thing that Danny had shared, so maybe you can elaborate on it and give your insight on it. But what I took from it when he was sharing it to me a long time ago, he was like, "You love crisis." I'm like, "No, I don't. I love to have everything like just perfect." And and he's like, "Well," the way he kind of explained it is like, "You love solving the problem. You love you love the destination. You love, or sorry, you love the journey, not necessarily the destination. You love trying to figure out, okay, I don't know how I'm going to get here, but we're going to like, I love this process. Is that right? Or what's your kind of take on it?
Okay, so I'm going to again double check the thing because you have part of a thing that I do. So what that means is I'm going to also what we like to do is have all the explanation of the things as it's
Mhm.
going up. So again, if I'm correct in what you're mentioning, this is like an exercise in me learning some things. So this is
Awesome.
exciting. Well, it's a fun exercise. Okay, so again, I'm going to also look for this particular thing, but I'm pretty sure it's here. Let me double check, double check. Yaha! Okay, I'm right. I found it. So, yes, fun in the sun. Okay, what we're looking at, what you specifically mentioned, is this thing right here.
Mhm.
So that is gate 36. So that is what he was talking about when he
Mhm.
said, now the reason why this is so important is because it's sitting up here. So again, for noobs who have no idea what's going on, we are explaining to Carrie, and again, layman's terms, all the hard nitty gritty stuff. So here along the sides are what's similar to astrology. So these are the planetary placements. So you have 36, right,
Mhm.
which correlates with the 36 over here, and it's in your personality sun. So what that means, so what makes human design different from do we have a huzzah? Okay, great. I'm going to explain this real quick because I already got this train started.
Awesome.
And then you can come on. So when you have your personality sun, this makes up like 80% of who you identify with and like the energy that you're here to like shine upon the world
Uh-huh.
and all the things, right? So it is super, super like integral to like how you express yourself and like how you see yourself as well. So that's why that particular gate was like pointed out to you. It's like,
Mhm.
this is this gate. So that gate is called the gate of crisis. I have it too, but I have the whole channel. You have it hanging. So you might be attracted to someone who might have 35 because then you complete the channel.
Okay.
So that's very cool when you have like half of it and then the other half is completed by someone else.
Right.
And
I'll have
it's
to look
not
at
like
my
you have to like go
chart.
hunting for people with this gate. Like
Yeah.
you will intrinsically be just pulled
Right.
towards people who have that other half, which makes human design so fun. It's because we're all essentially walking
Yeah.
puzzle pieces and
Yeah.
you're always attracted to the other half of the puzzle.
Right.
And if you mentioned correctly, you said you're a split definition,
I
right?
don't know. Can't
Okay. I
remember.
mean, Danny would be able to explain
Yeah.
that. But if you are, you're always looking for where to bridge that split.
Mhm.
So where in your chart you'll be always gravitating towards that particular person that bridges that split. So
Mhm.
without further ado, I'm going to have Danny take over and explain it in a much greater detail than what I did. But at least I gave you a wee bit of a
Yeah,
foundation
thank you. I
explaining
love it.
that. Amazing. Danny, are you ready? He says, I think so, if I can read lips. I'm still learning. Okay, ready? Tag team out.
This is too funny. Can you hear me, Carrie?
Yay, I can hear you.
Oh my God. So the whole right up until now, we bailed. We basically bailed out
I'm
and
so
then
glad you're here.
Moni clicked a button and then it was over. Yeah, that's so funny. So I made it just in time. This is cool. Carrie, how are you? It's been so
Yeah,
long,
I
right?
know.
Couple of years
I
and so much
know.
has
It's good to
changed.
see you.
Yeah, when you said you were off of social media, I went and looked before we got on and I'm like, what happened to Carrie?
Yeah,
And then
I've been
suddenly
gone.
yeah, you said that, and I was like, "That is true, she's gone."
I'm like one of the very few people that don't have any social media. It's pretty awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I don't think we actually need it.
Yeah.
So, ha have you done much more with your chart since
No,
all that
that's why
took
I'm excited for you to read it again because it's been a long time.
Yeah, I remember we dug in deep. I just remember this. I remember this one time we were talking and I said something and you're like, cut it out, Dan, you're killing me over here. We were
Yeah.
pointing at something and it was like, you're killing me. So just the things. So you've tuned out. You've just been not really, no one else has read for you. You haven't done much since then.
Nope.
So I'm just gonna recover from the beginning. When we first started, I pointed out how this generator form of ours is just so attuned into the now that if we put ourselves in the future and the past, we get beside ourselves
Mhm.
because this generative life force is always in response to the life. I mean, literally like the dog that barks, right? It's so have you noticed this? You would have noticed since all the time we spoke from before that you you have an immediate responsiveness to all things. Have you
Mhm.
noticed now?
Mhm.
Have you noticed that mind gets in the way to cloud that up?
Oh,
Like
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Have you by chance noticed, it's been enough time, and you might have noticed by now, this tiny little skip of a record
Mhm.
between the immediacy of a response and a moment or two to get mind driving you crazy with what if and oh no and I can't tell.
Mhm.
So it's the skip of a record later that shows up when you have a sacral defined in your body graph, when you're a generator. You've got this immediate existential in the now responsive truth that is where your kid was. The little 4-year-old Carrie or 5-year-old Carrie just said, yeah, I know, and I like it, and I don't. And that
Mhm.
was true, right? Because there's no mental framework clouding
Mhm.
that. And it's hard on this, one time to try and get this, but this is what we're getting you to try to see over and over again. This amazing, it's like godlike truth, Carrie, is a thing. It's godlike truth because we can't know what it is. It pours out only in response to the thing, which is sort of what the Bible always has told us to do, anyways. It's like, fear not, I walk with you, right? Just meaning you've got the tools, are always there at the
Mhm.
ready. Um, so getting you to see that is a thing.
Mhm.
Back in the day when we first started talking, I would have seen and pointed out this emotional wave of yours.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a wave that's imbued with this great deal of two types of feelings of inadequacy that social
Mhm.
media only fuels.
Mhm.
So somewhere in your logic set, you would have basically done what you said, just get rid of the social media at some
Mhm.
point because
Mhm.
you found it just confused everything and it kept the crisis going.
Mhm.
Um, What have you done to recognize that you do go up and down on a wave? It planes, here's how it works in your body graph. It planes along like, hey, I'm pretty cool, but
Yeah.
there's always a twinge of nervousness that you could go down because you've lived with it your whole life.
Mhm.
And then sooner or later, crashing down, you'll go into some form of, it feels like a crash. It planes along and then it'll feel like a crash downward that makes no sense.
Mhm.
It makes no sense. And it doesn't have to go all the way down into like despair. You don't run around in despair all the time. You
Yeah.
just, it's a low. It's just a melancholy. The melancholy sounds like this. It sounds, I don't know. I can't tell. I can't tell about them. I can't tell if there's anything worth hearing. I
Mhm.
can't tell if I even want to talk to this person.
Mhm.
I can't tell if there's anything worth hearing. And I'm just sort of sad there's nothing worth it. It's
Mhm.
this sense of tomorrow's not really necessarily worth it. I might not be worth it, and I can't tell what is worth it. Does this sound familiar?
100%. So why does that happen then?
It happens because well, I was going to say you want the good news or the bad news, but
Both.
from our point of view, it's all one thing. It sounds like the bad news, but it's the good news. It's because what we knew as a child that we couldn't put words to is that sadness always brought us a greater degree of creativity and made us more intelligent.
Mhm.
So I would like you to recognize
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
every time you've gone down on this thing,
Yeah.
you always come up smarter.
It's true.
So if you were 4 and I was your dad or your mom came along, it's like, "Oh, no, sweetie, you're about to get smarter. You're just a little sad. It's great. This is great."
Yeah.
That if that were the message from a young age,
Yeah.
you know, kid language, right? You're about to get smarter.
Yeah.
Um, And so what kinds of more intelligent, because it's an emotional intelligence. It's this
Mhm,
beautiful emotional intelligence on the planet that
mhm,
we've all been noticing is awakening. We're
mhm.
awakening to this emotional awareness that doesn't want to kill our neighbors anymore and steal all their stuff and be rotten, basically. It doesn't want that anymore. So in your emotional awareness, that it always comes in waves. That's why it's called an emotional wave. So
Mhm.
wh- when
Mm.
was it, what's it like coming back out of that when you get smarter? Because when you get smarter, what happens is the wave goes up because your
Mhm.
awareness changed
Yeah.
and the chemistry in your body forces this, and suddenly you get more intelligent and more emotionally resilient to this point where
Mhm.
it's like, I'm clear.
Mhm.
When you got out of social media, this
Mhm.
was a huge emotional process.
Yeah, it
Oh
was.
God, just and then in your clarity, no willpower needed. It wasn't willpower when you were clear. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm gonna quit drinking or I'm gonna quit chewing tobacco or something. It wasn't that kind of willpower. I'm getting
Mhm.
off sugar today. That's some willpower, boy. Um, it is because I'm still working on it, and I know it's. I didn't know how much was in our food, Carrie. I didn't know.
Yeah.
We know now, man. Trumpet the news, right?
Mhm.
And so that's what it would feel like. It doesn't feel like the willpower that physically moves a mountain. It feels like I'm just clear. It's not
Mhm.
even that hard. And it's the clarity always brings with it right after it a sense of relief.
Mhm. Yes. It's like I mean, there's many versions of the song Hallelujah, but that's
Mm,
the song that comes into my mind when I get on
yes.
the other side of the wave or,
Mm,
I get through that wave. It's like that song comes in of Hallelujah, and it's the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're right, I do feel so much more expansive. I feel wiser. I feel in retrospect super grateful for that moment, whatever it was that was in kind of that down
hmm. Down way,
space.
the way of
Yeah.
downness. Yeah.
And through the modalities that I teach and that I help people with, that has really, really helped me to be able to process through those moments. So that's super interesting.
Well, let's bring it into and I probably would have given some of this talk too way back in the day, but this is all chemistry, right? Because we all know now roughly that this represents our genetic makeup. These all these lines are these codons, genetic codons in our body that are activated at our birth. That means this is all a chemistry, no different than if you cut your
Mhm,
finger, the chemistry in your body coagulates the blood and makes you stop bleeding, right?
mhm,
That's just an intelligent chemistry that we've been endowed with, really, by the creator of the boundless universe, frankly. And so, I if it's a chemistry, then you're choiceless.
right,
I
right.
mean, yeah, yeah, you're a girl. Girls have that thing every month, right? You're rather choiceless in that, right? You
Mhm,
don't have a choice. I mean, it's the chemistry's there. So this emotional chemistry must be intelligent, and it must be
mhm,
intelligent beyond our
mhm,
self-reflective capacity to make meaning of it at the time, other than your awareness now through readings like this that say, if it's just a chemistry,
yeah.
it's just a chemistry, and apparently God wants me smarter.
Mhm,
I want me smarter, and I say smarter as the dumbed down term, just wisdom, wise,
right.
deeper, richer, all this juicy good language that goes with that. And so, have you noticed that when that happens, you
Mhm,
no longer feel inadequate?
mhm,
Is that because this feeling of inadequacy, every human has it some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? There's these things. You've got these two gates that propel it, 36 and 48 in your body graph.
mhm,
They're on the far left and the far right. Um,
mhm,
one- and 36 there and 48 there.
mhm,
Both of these gates have a fear, just a literal intelligence driving fear. Everything here is about driving intelligence and advancing consciousness. And this fear is I might be inadequate.
mhm,
And the fear of 36 is a nervousness that I'm inexperienced, inadequate, and I don't know what's going to happen, and I
mhm.
can't tell.
Yeah.
And then right above that is this gate number 35 in the throat, which you don't have in your body graph.
Mhm.
You know, welcome aboard. We all have gates that we don't have in our body graph. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So we're missing gates. Um, that's a longing for you. Why? I don't know what's going to happen, and I can't tell because it feels like an inexperience, and suddenly I just don't wanna. I don't wanna. I'm not going to move. There's Carrie in her room. There's Carrie not doing it. There's Carrie
Mhm.
not even looking at her phone. I'm not
Mhm.
answering that text message. There's Carrie just doing
Yeah.
something else, usually with your hands. Boom. You know, just what'd you do, Carrie? Oh, I tuned out. Nope. Do you
Yeah.
ever do you ever beat yourself up for that?
Oh, yes. Because
No,
I
you
feel like I need
don't.
to be responding. I need to be, like, answering that text message, but I don't want to.
Don't, don't. Train your friends. Train your friends.
Yeah.
Train them.
Oh, I've gotten way, way, way better. Oh my goodness, so much better at that, and definitely have weeded out a lot of people out of my life that
That
just
make
don't
demands.
understand that.
Right,
Yeah.
that make demands outside of what's right for
Yeah.
you.
And
Yeah.
honestly, that came from what you were sharing about my 5-2 split.
Yep.
And that really just opened up my eyes to it's like the energy is come here, go away.
Mhm.
The 5 is
Yes.
come here, the 2 is
Yep.
go away.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if somebody doesn't know how to do that dance with me, they either get really offended or they just don't want to be in my life because they want more from me than what
Mhm.
I'm willing to give or want to.
Yep. That's no, it's always one of those two things. That's a perfect, wise insight. So now you get to know I don't have a gate 35. And if you really go back to the initial wiring of if we were able to factory reset as our adult selves back to say 3.5 years old or three, and just sort of factory reset our emotion code or part of it, we would jettison all of these things. And one of them is this natural proclivity you have, this conditioned, it's not natural, it's
Mhm.
conditioned proclivity you have to expect something.
Mhm.
I realize that sounds rude. Don't expect anything, kid. It's we do expect certain things,
Mhm.
but it's the emotional way in which you attach meaning to the possibility of this expectation, this
Mhm.
possibility that just comes through because you're always seeing this possibility and you desperately want to make it be a probability.
Mhm.
And that's, you get to say, I'm not the probability of this, it's merely a possibility. I have to stop seeing this as probable or not probable. What did God give us? It's possible.
Mhm.
What do we know? Um, so that's who you're not. That concern, I'm supposed to be getting back. I'm supposed to.
Mhm.
That's who you're not.
Mhm.
So just it's not like you can relieve yourself of that tomorrow, but you can keep saying it to yourself so that
Mhm.
it's the saying it that sees it. And we all know about fake it till we make it, right? That's
Mhm.
not even a bad thing. It's
Mhm.
just creating a habit, right? It's
Mhm.
so you can't tell I'm not going to create this habit, but if you keep doing it, you will
Mhm.
essentially.
Mhm.
So this would be one of the habits. That's not my nervousness, really. That's just intelligence trying to brew. I don't need to expect this. And I don't need to expect the other will understand why I don't. Best I can do as soon as I'm in the
Mhm.
mood, I'll say it. As
Mhm.
soon as I'm in the mood, because your emotional solar plex needs to be in the mood. You have the
Yeah.
individual gates, it needs to be in the mood to say it.
Mhm.
So I'm not in the mood. I don't need to answer that
Yeah.
text. And you could even have this, us second line people. I got a second line too, and sometimes it drives people I know and love absolutely crazy. And so we should have like an auto response, but instead of I'm driving, it should say, we will word something.
I'm hermiting.
I'm hermiting and I can't tell if I'm in the mood and my fingers don't seem to touch the buttons to get back to you and it's not your fault. I love
Yes.
you. Uh, I love you. Talk soon, maybe.
Mhm.
Because even that's maybe. I don't know if we'll talk soon. It's
Yeah,
just maybe. It's just maybe. It's the same thing with honey, do you love me? You got married, didn't you, or something?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Well, so I'm sure you love your husband, but
I
listen,
do.
we're all human, right? And sometimes we're someplace else other than I'm desperately in love with my husband. Sometimes you're someplace else. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not unreasonable for hubby to say, but sweetie, do you love me undyingly? And if you're not in the mood and you're someplace else, the answer could easily be, well, it's just sure, right? Or mostly, right? And more than enough,
Yeah.
because you're not in the mood to really have
Mhm.
it be that right now, even though it never goes away and it doesn't mean anything in your relationship because it's not going anywhere. But that's the kind
Mhm.
of forgiveness to give yourself, because your 4 and 5-year-old self gave it to themselves all the time. I
Mhm.
can't tell dad, I don't care, it would
Yeah.
say. Off it would go to do its thing or not. Um, so on the other side, this gate 48, its inadequacy is about the talent it doesn't have. It can't tell.
Mhm.
It can't tell. And
Mhm.
it wants to express an excited talent about this depth because it keeps getting depth, 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 depth. Carrie is Mrs. Deep. She's the little 5'2" projected upon deep girl who, as soon as you touch the right button, Carrie has everything to say. Out it comes pouring. She is deep. And she
Mhm.
strategically will focus in on pinpointing exactly where it needs to go for you.
Mhm.
It's just that's Carrie's shtick. I'm keynoting a bunch of things in there. So you
Yeah.
guys, yeah, you won't be able to keynote all that. Um, But that depth is just there to be drawn upon in the moments you feel called.
Mhm.
And every other time becomes,
Mhm.
not every time, but mostly every other time becomes a misstep. Spoke too
Mhm.
much, didn't speak enough, wrong timing, got yourself upset about something, I mean,
Mhm.
think that didn't need to happen. And it becomes the matter of, it's not up to me to be the skilled, talented one that's always excited about getting it out. That's just someone I used to play on TV, but it's not me. I'm the one with all the depth. I'm far more shamanic. And didn't you say you
Mhm.
do shamanic stuff?
Mhm.
This
Yeah.
is Shamanville, man. This is
Uh-huh.
Shamanville. Yeah. With fear. And the fear assuages and it goes away the more you keep looking at it and saying, it just drives intelligence. It's
Yeah.
just, I'm not inadequate. I'm just
Yeah.
gaining more intelligence.
Wow. I definitely needed to hear that for sure. So that's like that's on the other side, the 48,
Yep. Yep.
and that's the part that's white or the part that's
It's the part
colored?
that's colored in that
Okay.
is storing this stuff, and it's the not self-conditioning that has told us be the best at all times, that is
Yeah.
trying to be these two missing gates that are 16 and 35 in your throat. Right there, 16
Uh-huh.
and then 35 on the other side. It wants them to be filled. Your not self says, how come I'm not fully everything? Why am I
Right.
not 100% of everything? That's what the not self says, because it's just mind. It thinks
Yes.
it's in charge. And it's like, I can think it, so it should be,
Mhm.
and that's insane right there. This conditioning only goes away by seeing it. And you happen to see it, you have to keep, like, you'll go back and listen to little aspects of this again. And in that moment, you'll see it again. And you have to keep being willing to give yourself a little shamanic mantra about it on the other side that says, I guess this isn't me. I don't have to do that. I'm not the one my nervousness isn't here to make me crazy. Sadness isn't all that bad. It seems like it sucks a little bit at this very moment, but I know
Mhm.
I get something from it.
Mhm.
And suddenly sadness will just, and these feelings that in the
Mhm.
not self-conditioned world, these feelings are deeply inadequate. I mean, I'm not good enough at all. My body this, my hair that, my this, the way I talk, the I eat, what you name it,
Mhm.
right? The hang-ups we give ourselves.
Mhm.
um I'm not in control enough. I can't bluster out the message. I can't prove
Mhm.
it, you know and all of these things become what we're not. You'll give yourself little mantras over the words that have been used here to say to yourself. And it's these two gates that are missing, that aren't missing, they're just not present. And if they were present, they would hook you all up and you would be this single definition person. Instead, you're a triple split definition person that needs to, is it? Oh no, you're a split definition. Yeah, this would hook you up. Sorry, split definition. So there's these all these gates that would hook you up,
Mhm.
and it makes us seek them. It drives us into relationships, is what
Mhm.
it does. Split definition people that have especially multiple ports into their split were designed to pair up. We're
Mm,
just designed. And so my guess is in your life, even from a young age, you knew you were designed to pair up.
mhm,
Is that true by chance?
mhm. Oh, 100%. And then after being in a marriage for 14 years that I wasn't happy in, it was like, "Nah, I don't want that," and just had convinced myself that I just wanted to be alone, and I feel like it was an important journey to be on, to just go through
Mhm.
this process of finding that self-love, but
I knew you
ultimately.
then. That's
What's
when
that?
I knew you. That's when I knew
Yes,
you.
I was single, and I
Mhm.
loved it, and I felt like I wanted to have that for the rest of my life, and then realized, "Oh, no, I was actually just trying to protect myself from getting into a relationship that was miserable again," and ultimately, it's like, "Oh, you get to be in a relationship that you love," and that's actually what I wanted.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, right. Even though there's
Relationship is huge
difficulties.
for me. Not
Yeah,
very many. I don't need a lot of friends.
right.
And I mean, having when I was single, having multiple like relationships, that was I
Too
did
much.
not enjoy that.
Nope.
But like relationships that are deep and meaningful, quality over quantity for me.
I miss reading for hundreds of Mormon people. Don't mean to just say that out of the blue, but it slowed down at one point, and I want it back because it was so meaningful. Um, so I've dealt enough with this emotional wave, this whole thing, it's just so you can see that
Mhm,
these talents and these skills and these things that happen, they happen in their own timing outside of your will. It's independent of will. And that's where we
mhm.
get caught up because we think we're supposed to be able to will it. I'm
That's
going to move.
helpful.
Yeah, it's independent of will.
Mhm,
And dude, we give it over to God all the time,
mhm,
right? We already know that. So this won't be a hard little thing to keep reminding yourself of. And then we've dealt also with the chemistry. If it's truly a chemistry, and all of these things are how
mhm,
the genome informs the chemistry in the body to make hair and make us speak and give us brain matter, all the things, it's informing the chemistry intelligently. And then the chemistry rips together like an electrical storm at about the speed of however fast a battery turns on a flashlight. At that
mhm,
speed, we get our responses. We start to feel our emotional wave. And everything that takes longer than that amount of time
mhm,
is a skip of a record later, a
mhm,
pothole later in the road, dum dum. But in comes mind about that time later, and it's up to you to start seeing. My mind just got involved. It's all clouded. I'll have to reset and notice again, later.
mhm,
And then you'll
mhm.
notice again. You'll be like, mine got involved, but I stopped it.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
stopped it. And then an hour later, like I lost the fight to mind again for a moment. But I'm looking at it is the thing, you know, and you'll be looking at it. Now I would
Mhm,
like to move to not only this profile, but these gates, this 36 and this 6, and I don't know how far I'll get into the 10 and the 2. These are my gates. I have
mhm,
10 and 2,
mhm,
10 and 15 in the second line.
mhm,
And but this 36 I opened up so I can just read this. I like to read the original words as the Chinaman put it. Um,
mhm,
partially. The gate 36 off the top of your solar plex, this is your sun and the
mhm,
personality side. And it's a driving force in you. It's what it's doing is in your life as it relates to like this trajectory you will always take, it drives an energy into the gate 6, which is also in the solar plex,
mhm,
and that's in your earth.
mhm,
So it's just like plant life. The sun drives itself into the earth, and the earth, like mother, drives up the life out of the earth in
mhm,
cooperation with the father or son, just for archetypes, father, mother. Um,
mhm,
and they don't have to be that, by the way. They can be yin and yang in reverse. Trust me.
mhm,
But I just so 36.5, 36 is about gaining experience
mhm,
and shamanic experience, any experience, marriage experience, all of it.
mhm,
And its nervousness is I don't know if I'm gaining the right experience, and I don't know if I'm going to look like an idiot, and all of
mhm,
these emotional things that show up, not to mention gender things that will go with it on top of that. Like dudes are always worried that they're this or that, girls are always worried they're whatever. So nervousness. And this is this rule of cycles, in which you become aware that decline is a natural thing. Decline. I am declining in what I know. I'm declining in what I think. This is the emotional wave going down. that
Mhm.
decline is a natural but never enduring stage. We just said all of that.
Mhm.
It's natural that this happens because obviously I'm going to gain this intelligence, but it's never enduring. It comes back up. So I didn't know it was going to say it that way, but it says it exactly as we described it
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Um, your fifth line is called the underground. It says, I'm going to decipher this for you: perfected survival regardless of conditions, immunity to crisis as both this generator and a survivor. So both as a responder and a survivor, this immunity to crisis. The immunity to crisis is that um, you will only end up doing it practical. If it's not practical, you will
Mhm.
go away and pull yourself out of the theater.
Mhm.
So, and your immunity from crisis is in your withdrawal.
Mhm.
And it's a successful withdrawal, by the way,
Mhm.
even when you don't feel so. So now we need to get to
Mhm.
know you don't have to you don't have to worry about the crisis. These are just the words again. You'll have to keep saying this till it turns into the right feeling, and that's when it's real. But you don't have to concern yourself that you are or aren't immune to the crisis if you've removed yourself. All you have to concern yourself with, sort of forgetting about it until you go through your process. And this is not a this I'm going to guess this is not a luxury and a privilege you've and a right actually you've given yourself very easily. None of us have. No one gets out alive, Carrie. we we all got conditioned, man, woman.
Yeah.
We all got it, no matter what. Idyllic upbringing or not, by the way. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter the upbringing.
Mhm.
Everyone gets it. So this perfected survival, regardless of conditions, it constantly falls off track a little bit because you don't believe it. I'm,
Mhm.
I don't know that that's true. I say things as more of a question, but the normal thing would be I can't tell if that's true. I can't tell if I'm surviving this moment. The crisis is too great. And now you can start to simply say, I seem to think I might not be surviving this moment, but my chemistry says I'm fine. Maybe I'll just keep saying my chemistry says this is right.
Mhm.
The rule book, the directions call for this, and apparently it's not that big of a deal.
Mhm.
Well, that's the thing to tell yourself essentially, is just to
Yeah.
recognize that.
Mm.
Now, it's the energy of discovery. It's like a determined discoverer. It's the energy of discovering mutatively in a way what might be next, what might work out, what was this thing, and how much deeper did it make all the other things I do.
Mhm.
The discovery is how much deeper did it make all the other things I do, and being present in the moment is the only way to have the experience. So one of the guiding points you can look for is, does my mind keep entering in to pull me away from being in the now?
Mhm.
Because it will. Oh my
Yeah.
God, tomorrow this, to next week that. She's never going to talk to me again. That's a future thing. That's not a
Yeah.
now thing.
Mhm.
That's something that doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Um, and
Mm.
so that's a thing to tell yourself, is to just keep recognizing this process is so powerful that there would be no shame if you said, I'd like to cash in that 36 and just try another gate for a while. No one would say, oh my God, Carrie, boo hoo. I get it. But this is your cross to bear.
Yeah.
I mean, it got baked into you. And if I'm not mistaken, you're really excited about it most of the
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
Well, that's what we get as we get closer to 40 and stuff. I forgot how old you are, but you're not,
Yeah.
it's something like that.
46.
There you go. So you're already past it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you now know you're mature. You're a fucking mature woman, dude. You know now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a grown ass adult. So
Mhm.
this is where it
Yeah.
gets pulled away. This is not self feature. This another expression of this gate 36. It's nervousness. This is the not self that is there, and this is what you beat back. Nervousness that can lead to self betrayal, and I
Mhm.
would go nervousness that, if unchecked, leads to self betrayal.
Mhm.
It's this nervousness in times of crisis that cloud the judgment and
Mhm.
leave the truth obscured.
Mhm.
Save that keynote because that was them's was the words. Um, that's who you're not. This nervousness that in times of crisis betrays the logic of the truth. That is, you don't know yet. You have to stay in the experience.
Yeah. This is so good. I'm literally in a transition of selling my home and getting a new home,
Mm.
and I don't know what's gonna happen, and so that
No, you don't.
nervousness comes in of, like, I wanna get it figured out, and I need to plan, and I need to and yeah, so this is really helpful just for right now where I'm at of just be here.
Have you noticed that you have a perfected form that responds with exactly the right behavior as soon as the situation
Oh,
is forced upon you?
yes.
I'm
Yes.
keynoting your channels right now.
Yeah.
I just keynoted a very brief keynoting of one of your operating systems that does exactly what I just said.
And I
Um,
think because of what, because you mentioned that I'm past 40, I think because I've had so many experiences of that now, that even if I start to get into that nervousness of, and thinking about the future and trying to figure it out, I can kind of come back to the present because I know that, okay, when it's time to take action and do the thing, I always figure it out. It always works out.
right. This is the generator's charm. We've been endowed by this amazing don't need to know because the sacral box is constantly responding with the truth of, I call it the truth of the universe, the whole
Mhm.
thing. It's the whole thing is basically for each of us, we're all like an aspect of the whole, right? We all know that.
Mhm.
We're all godlike. We have this aspect inside of us that is that. So I am that as well as an aspect. This sacral is an aspect of the universe, as far as I can tell, because it never stops responding exactly as the form needs it to.
Mhm.
And the way it did it best, again, was back when we were a little kid that just said uh-huh and uh-uh to everything and had some emotions about that in your case, or didn't in my case per se. And you know what I mean? But still had the same truth. It was in the moment. It was force and power that would release itself. So as this 36 is driving that and you're going through this move, you just get to keep seeing that's not my pressure. Not my
Mhm.
pressure. I think
Mhm.
it's my pressure. I'm almost sure it's my pressure sometimes, and I'm wrong. It's not mine. It's my mind. My self-reflective consciousness hasn't learned to heal and kneel to that which God
Mhm.
didn't give us this reflection of ourselves. We're doing that all the time. That's the free will that's always being talked about. The
Mm.
actual body's mechanism,
Mm.
the actual body's mechanisms, this genome inside of us that's giving all this complex chemistries like emotions and responses. That's the interface. That's
Mhm.
the portal of truth. That's the gateway. The portal, the gateway. What do they call these things? That I've seen all kinds of cool names. Another portal's opening up.
Yeah.
This is that. This is that opening that we don't get to know because it
Mhm.
happens at the speed of light, practically. So we get to experience it and see it, and you've already experienced it over and over. In the now, your perfected form immediately captures the right rhythm, sees the depth of what needs to happen,
Mhm.
foregoes the feeling of crisis, has a logical focused view of strategically what to do, doesn't care what it doesn't know, strikes up the right opinion on what to do, is loaded with all the details, and then spills all that stuff out loud,
Mhm.
shares it with, hey, I remember it didn't work that way, so now I'm doing it this way. And boom,
Mhm.
out it comes, and the movement happens. And that's
Mm.
you.
Yeah. 100%.
That's I was sort of just freely keynoting all the things. Um, so this gate 6, I have this gate. I like this gate, although
Mhm.
it's a little bit of a slicer. So when I add up this gate 6, this gate 36, and the fact that it's in a channel down at the bottom coming off of your sacral center is this channel of intimacy,
Mhm.
59 and 6. This guarantees that Carrie's always able to break down the aura to things. You're always able to at least step in once. One of the reasons you had so many friends.
Mhm.
Upon first meeting, this whole design together is a design to break down the barrier to union, be it friends or intimacy or business, whatever, just a conversation. It's always, but it's always there once and up front. And then after that, it turns into what it really is, a powerful generated source wave of emotional reality that is either opened or closed to intimacy. And if it's closed, it acts like a samurai sword and it cuts things off at the head. So
Mhm.
it's the slicer way. I call this the slicer. it just slices thing. And inside of this cross, the cross of the plane, always, not always moving on, but with a tendency to move past the crisis. That's what the plane does. It moves past crisis all the time. And with this slicer thing in it, it's you're always decapitating the thing. What happened to it? Carrie killed it. Didn't she kill the thing 5 years ago? Didn't she kill it? That other thing? Yeah, she killed
Yep.
it again. She killed this new thing again. So that's funny now,
Yeah.
right? What do you make
So
of
can
that?
that be so is that with just relationships or is it with like
Everything,
experiences, everything? Yeah, because
everything.
I've done that so many times with my business. I've always been an entrepreneur. I have only worked with a handful of people, and it's like, yeah, I most of the time I'm just doing my own thing. And when I create a thing, I do it for a minute, and I'm like, yep, I'm done with that now, and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and if it's a big thing that you sort of got into, and even if other people were involved in it, so now there's also some responsibility involved. As soon as that thing starts to tug on the stuff we were talking about before, that doesn't pull you out of your shell, that you're not in the mood for, that you are not emotionally clear on, and
Mhm.
you're in a process of doubt about it all, essentially, and wonder, can't make sense of it, um, you'll cut it off.
Yeah,
Sooner or
yeah,
later, it
I've done
just
that.
slices it off. Yeah.
Mhm,
So this is practical.
mhm,
This is part of your practicality, because when gate 6 is the thing that does it the most. Gate 6 in your solar plex center is awake and aware
mhm,
to, it's like the pH of the body, that as soon as the pH of the situation isn't quite right, this thing says, not
mhm,
right, and it
mhm,
won't take it, it won't uptake, it will not
mhm,
uptake. It's like the virus can't get to me. It's
mhm.
not uptaking. It doesn't matter how sick the other person is. I'm not letting it in. Doesn't matter how much they
Yeah.
love me. They're not getting in. Doesn't
I've
matter.
and I've never regretted it. I've always anything
Yes.
that I've cut off and just like, "This is no more, this doesn't work anymore," I've never looked back and gone, "Man, I should have kept with that, or I should have kept doing
Mhm.
that." I've always seen afterwards that was the best decision. Even though it was hard, it wasn't an easy thing. Those aren't always easy to end. Some of them
Well,
are.
some of them are some easier than others, but I mean, as we get older, we understand these notions of things like hard things make life easy.
Mhm.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
just a truism now. I'm almost 60, dude, and that's just, that's just a truism. Hard things
Mhm.
make life easy. So now if it's wicked hard, it's like, oh, good, life's gonna get easy. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
believe me, I sort of BS myself with that too a little bit, but fake it till you make it. 5 is arbitration, and the thing is, this gate 6 it's so close to gate 6, it's almost the peacemaker, the discipline and integrity of a superior force you to unilaterally cease things that aren't working,
Mhm.
and allow the other to survive
Mhm.
without killing the other, just having them basically survive. But
Mhm.
your actual line is called arbitration. So in essence, you're the arbiter. The faith derived from analytical diligence and emotional control that permits this higher authority to judge the conflict. This is called the gate of conflict. It's about
Mhm.
friction. It
Mhm.
guarantees that you are not slipping through frictionless, because there's no growth with no friction.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter how many babies a mom has had, there is friction, and that baby has to fight its way out. And that's its
Mhm.
first experience of its life,
Mhm.
really outside. It's like, I guess I got to fight for things. There's friction. And so it's not meant to be a nasty friction. It's not meant for any of that stuff. It's just meant for you.
Mhm.
And trust me, your sacral response will say, as soon as the friction is there to close it up, because it's
Mhm.
reading its chemistry, and now that from the sacral might be something that you have an emotional feeling about. And a few days later, you'll feel different. That's fine.
Mhm.
But as this friction comes in, this sort of, it feels like a conflict to the other. And that's part of the nervousness, because it cuts things off,
Mhm.
or it lets things in.
Mhm.
So when you don't let things in, other people take it personally. They project that right
Mhm.
onto you.
Mhm.
She's a biatch. She's a this, whatever. Comes the catty, nasty talk that gets
Mhm.
thrown at you. I'm not saying necessarily a lot, but I know you've
Mhm.
experienced some of that. You have to
Mhm.
have.
Mhm.
Um, so gate 6 is conflict. This arbitration says harmony that is furthered through avoidance of direct conflict, the sensitivity to understand that direct conflict is essentially a last resort, or it's a
Mhm.
resort that must be that
Mhm.
must be come to.
Mhm.
So that whole last resort, you don't come to that very easily. The rest
No.
of the time, it is a type of maneuvered
Yes.
strategic avoidance.
Yes.
Do you ever feel bad about that?
N
In the
no.
past, you did, I bet. In the past,
I feel
guilty
like
wise, like a guilt that
there's
comes in.
people will say things like, make comments about how I don't want to get into conflict. I'll avoid it
Mhm.
at all costs. And so there's a little bit of like, oh, but then not really.
Good.
I know that it just doesn't, it goes against my nature. I just can't do it.
No.
I would rather do the maneuvering
Yep.
or come to a place of being able to have just a healthy conversation rather than have this like really intense, like aggressive conflict
Absolutely.
that is
So
just literally makes my whole nervous system just like,
get too
can't do
much.
it.
Right. Again, the 5-year-old Carrie would have been like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I was
And
called the peacemaker in my family. They
yeah,
literally that was who I was. I was the peacemaker.
yep. That's why I read both
Yeah.
lines. The peacemaker is the sixth line and you're the fifth line, but I can tell these two things are actually married together
Mhm.
in your chart anyways, because it looks like the time is real close to it anyways. So this peacemaker, this is who you are.
Mhm.
Is the thing, and nothing else. I mean, there are lots of other things, but as it relates to this one aspect, you're
Yeah.
not not that is the best way to is a way to
Mhm.
put that. You because this is imbued in you. So now knowing that that's correct, if ever there's a moment you feel bad about it,
Mhm.
that's who you're not.
Mhm.
And that chip on your shoulder, however that shows up, is conditioning you. It's who you're not, and it's causing stuff that doesn't matter to put you under pressure to try to feel like you're supposed to prove something and or be
Mhm.
something you're not. And the not self of this thing that's in the world today that will take us away from this accidentally becomes um, where you're sort of part of the arbitration itself, but you try to just be the judge and will only accept judgment if it's only on your terms. It's basically a type of selfishness that just says, screw you, it's got to be my way or the highway type thing. And it's not quite so in your face because it's still avoidant of the conflict. So, insensitivity to the concerns of the others in conflict, whereas the true expression of yours is a sensitivity to yourself and others in times of conflict. And by the way, conflict is, um, hey, you said you'd be here at 4. Yeah, I got to be there at 4:30 now.
Mhm.
Conflict,
Mhm.
mundane, daily conflict. Did you get the
Mhm.
milk? No, you said you would. Conflict, just whatever it is. And then the big stuff, of course. So this sounds like a hell of a cross to bear, except it drives so much intelligence and it drives so much depth and so much beauty over time that logically shows up in you in details where suddenly you have a rationale that says, no, I know. Here's
Mhm.
Carrie that with a detailed rationale that says, I know.
Mhm.
And essentially, it's not like you need to prove that, but it's a sense your depth has as it comes out, it knows. Now you can just trust that, like a little Buddha child, like the little Karate Kid boy. Didn't know why he was painting the wall so often until he realized I do kung fu now. You
Yeah.
know, I wanted to be that when I was 8 or 10 or whatever. I would be like, I'm gonna be him.
I'm gonna be Karate Kid.
I'm gonna be a Karate Kid. Because I was getting mad at Mr. Miyagi the first time I saw it. I know I was like, "Why are you making the kid do all this?" I was getting mad while I was watching the movie. I'm like, "I'm not doing this." It was funny. So this insensitivity is it doesn't mean you'll never have it, but now you'll start to see it. And if it
Mhm.
shows up too much, it's a way to let you know that this other person in my relationship field right at this moment, it's just not right now. And you've already gotten good at noticing that. So when you put the 35 and the 36 together, hi, I drive depth in a practical way through something that feels a little bit like a crisis, but it's just not knowing. It's just an inexperience now that
Mhm.
through the expansive growth of friction is going to get bigger, smarter, and wiser, and it's going to have so much more depth. So this is constantly feeding the well of depth that constantly keeps making you have all these beautiful epiphanies on the other side with your shamanic work, or this work, or that work. And
Mhm.
this is a design of somebody, especially, you're over 40, who's would probably be having these epiphanies on a daily basis sometimes.
Mhm.
So your little brain's always exploding with, oh my God, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
Not
pretty
that you,
awesome being in my 40s for sure.
yeah, because by now you start getting used to the idea that I love me. I fucking
Mhm.
love me, man. I think I'm great.
Mhm.
I love me. I love you, but I think I love me more, you
Mhm.
know. And that's supposed to be how it is. So now people can't knock Carrie off her game.
Right.
They used to be able to knock you right off your game. Do you
Yes.
remember? Not
Yes.
no more. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Get used to that. That's how it's
Mhm.
supposed to be, you know? We've
Mhm.
gone through the college of life long enough.
Mhm.
Um, the last thing I would like to do is I'm going to move on to these open centers just to wrap it all into this thing that is Carrie, the thing that pulls Carrie away from what is Carrie.
Mhm.
So all of these things we were talking about inside of this 5-2 profile of yours, that knows it loves itself, knows it's a little hermit, knows that people project upon it stuff. It
Mhm.
knows that it's called upon to be the warrior, master, princess, fixer,
Mhm.
problem solver, saint, and
All of it.
make it all of it. And that, no, but that's a chemistry again. You
Yeah.
broadcast out of the generator form, broadcaster aura, and that aura is constantly sending message that other people receive, and they get. It's
Yes.
like this profile, 5-2 profile. So I'm back on profile, guys. They're putting notes on the bottom.
Yeah.
Um, this profile, this 5-2 profile, is the truest design of. You ever see The Walking Dead? Even a
Mm.
clip of it. It's stupid, but it's the
I don't
zombies
I
with
don't
all
watch
the
TV, so I don't,
good.
yeah, but I've
It was
heard of it.
years ago. Years
Yeah.
ago. This was 7 years ago. Last time I saw it.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was like as soon as the living people make a noise, the walkers slowly start to turn towards
Yeah.
that person. It's a
That's like what
slow.
people do to the 5-2?
That's what they do to the 5-2. They're always like, ah. So as soon as you beep your horn, that's what they would do. They beep the horn to get attention. All the walkers in the world start like, oh, might be
Yeah.
Carrie, maybe, and maybe Carrie has.
Yeah.
It's a version of that. It's not exactly that, but it's pretty close to that.
Right.
And it's because they're projecting upon your fifth line that will fix things, and they're projecting and they're seeing that the talents of your ability to master the extreme nature of things. Carrie is always riding the wave of the extreme nature of things, but
Mhm.
only in this perfected narrow little window that has to be called out with exactly the right details, or she ain't doing it. I mean, exactly. It's like the little toad in the Amazon that comes out once every 2 years to mate. And that's only if the moss is just right, or else it ain't coming out.
What is this toad's name? It's gonna be my animal spirit. Do you
I
know
don't
what it
know.
is? It's in
No,
the Amazon? I'm, like, literally going to write that down
yeah,
because
find it
that
down. It might be the Bufo alvarius toad for all I
really?
know. It might be, which is in the Sonoma Desert. It's not the
Yeah,
Amazon. So, but
that's yeah.
I was
Okay.
gonna,
I'll
I
look it
was
up.
gonna, yeah, I don't know which one it is, but I was gonna give it Carrie for a name, a little bit. Um, Aspects of Carrie,
That
anyway.
is you literally just described me. Yeah.
And you're supposed to be this way, and your husband learns to love these things about you.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
that's my wife. She's
Totally
no,
gets
don't,
it.
dude, don't even try. Just no, you're
Yeah.
not getting her. She's not whatever the thing is that's happening. Um, so now these open centers, how do they pull you away? How do they pull you away from being the person that doesn't care and you're waiting for the right call to come in with all this power of yours that is emotionally clear and wants to do the things she likes? How does that's you, that's your 5-year-old, and you now that you just keep telling yourself that. How do these open centers? We have an open head center, totally open at
Mhm.
the top of your body graph, the triangle pointing up.
Mhm.
We have the open ego center, the will or heart center, which is just to the right of the yellow diamond.
Mhm.
It's got two gates on it. You see, one of them is a 21 and one is a 26. I'll
Mhm.
keynote those in a moment. And then down at the bottom, you have this open root center with
Mhm.
one activation, gate 39, that is always trying to provoke the other. So what this only the right other, by the way. And so sometimes this puts you under pressure, the center down below at the bottom, puts you under pressure to find the right provocation in the world, the right time to say nothing, the right time to say something. And it's just looking for the right intimacy out in the world. It's looking for the right connection, and it's got to
Mhm.
sound just right.
Mhm.
I mean, it's in this area where I come up with much of the, little tree frog that comes out once every 2 years if the moss is just right.
Mhm.
So under pressure, in a hurry, under pressure to be in a hurry, that's what the center does. And as soon as you're under pressure to be in a hurry, the mantra
Mhm.
is, hey, that's not my pressure. That's the
Mhm.
conditioning. If you have an open root center like I do, there is no pressure. And just hearing those words is sounds
Mhm.
unbelievable. It's like that,
Mhm.
that sound like you should get your money back. What did you just say? That's not true. But it's
Mhm.
true. Other people, it's their pressure. And it doesn't mean you don't exist in a pressure zone. It's just here to get you wise on when you should step into the pressure zone and when you shouldn't,
Mhm.
without feeling any kind of guilt or in any kind of way about it.
Mhm.
It don't matter. It does not matter. Open head center up top, pressure center,
Mhm.
pressuring you to basically translate existence. It's not
Mhm.
even basically, it's literally. So
Mhm.
you've noticed all the humans, right? All of us, all 8, 9 billion, however many there are, we're all running around in one way, shape, or form trying to figure out what the hell, you
Yeah.
know, translate exist. What am I? Who am I? What does this mean? What is existence? Why are we here? Mommy, what's the
Mhm.
meaning of life?
Yeah.
Translate that for me. We don't, you know, there's certain answers a little past the ring past not. We're not supposed to have it per se. We're supposed to get to it, right? Or
Mhm.
reach it, reach for it. So this is always putting us under pressure to do that. And you're completely wide open, no activations. It means you're not even certain half the time what to bother thinking about. And along
Mhm.
comes the slicer wave that's emotionally clear and says, I'm getting rid of social media.
Mhm.
It gave you too many things to think about.
Mhm.
That's what goes on. It's too muchness. And the not self voice of this, whereas the not self voice of the open root center says, I feel like I'm under pressure and I think I need to hurry. I need to be in a hurry to be free of this pressure. If I hurry up, I'll get rid of this pressure. That's a not self voice talking away in the mind.
Mhm.
That's not you. And the pressure up here is I think I
Mhm.
need to think about all these things. There's a lot of things. And if I think about it, I need to get the details and think about all this stuff. And I better have a book report on it tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
And the book report doesn't come tomorrow.
Mhm.
And so the not self voice inside of this concept that it keeps working with, that's who you're not, is it's thinking about things that don't matter,
Mhm.
just literally. And it's
Mhm.
things that don't matter to your right now. Because if you
Mhm.
recall, your sun and earth are driving away, even though they want to share the experience, they're driving away at being in an experience right now,
Mhm.
like just right now. So all the things that pour through this open head of yours make you a pro when you finally figure out how to meditate. My guess is you can meditate like there's no tomorrow.
Mhm.
Is that
Getting
true?
there. Getting
Yeah.
there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's hard. Well, because you got a busy mind, but
Yes.
you're the type that would have worked at it at some point.
Mhm.
Um, so it is hard, by the way. You have a
Mhm.
defined mind. You have defined ajna like I do, and it's hard for us to meditate.
Mhm.
Just functionally speaking. But it's thinking about things that don't matter to the right now. I need to do this tomorrow. I have this thing. Oh, it's not going to work out. I got to move my house. All these things. I got to put all this stuff together. When if someone just comes and splashes some water on you and says, Carrie, snap out of it, you'll be like, okay, I'm packing bags. And that's what I was good at right now. And boom, you moved a mountain of bags being packed or
Yes.
whatever it is because you didn't care and you stopped thinking about things that don't matter
Mhm.
and they don't matter to you right now and they cause you to get all kinds of mentally anxious because there's one gate pointing at it, gate number 24 on the
Mhm.
top of that ajna. That gate says I need to find a rationale, I need to know, I need to make things stop being a mystery and turn into something that's known. So I
Mhm.
need to keep returning to the pressure. This gate unconsciously causes you to keep returning to that pressure.
Uh-huh.
So now you can see, oh, I just returned. So look at it like a trip meter, a
Yeah.
stopwatch. Click,
Right.
stop, click, start. So
Right.
as soon as you return, whether it was right to return or not, maybe you should. We don't
Mhm.
know. Sacral will tell you. Your emotional wave will tell you.
Mhm.
But as soon
Mhm.
as you return, at least click the stopwatch and mark it. Even if it's just a mental note, at the
Mhm.
moment. Oh my God, I returned to this thing. Oh my God, I still return to the thing. Oh my God, I stayed returned to this thing. Does it matter? Does it matter right
Mhm.
now?
Mhm.
God, I sure do think it matters, but I'm gonna pretend it doesn't. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter right now. It just doesn't matter. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about things that don't matter. And you watch if, but 2 or
Mhm.
3 minutes later, it didn't matter anymore. When that same return would have kept you involved all day
Mhm.
without knowing just these critical aspects.
Mhm.
One is the brokenness that we're trying to wipe off because it's the merchandise that's been in the back of the shelf for 14 years and we got to totally clean it off. You know what I mean? Versus the cleaned off version, which is you always noticing, seeing it kills
Yeah,
it, seeing it
right.
kills it, seeing it fixes it. And the
Mhm.
kid is always right. The kid is always right. Seeing it kills it. You can take that to the bank. It never fails.
Mhm.
And then finally, so thinking about things that don't matter, under pressure to be in a hurry, to be free of the pressure, not knowing
Mhm.
why. And then the open ego with 2 activations. I need to be in control of everything. I need to have the right message. I need to broadcast a message. I need to prove I can broadcast a message. I need to prove I can be in control of this thing. I need to prove I'm worthy. I need to prove I'm any good at this. I need to stop
Yeah.
feeling bad because someone else can do it better, or I think someone else is doing it better, or I'm not good enough, or I need to say yes, or I'll look unworthy, or I might be in trouble, or whatever. That's a whole ton of word salad right now, but that's what the open ego does. It's a
Mhm.
treacherous thing. It says the not self voice of the open ego
Mm.
is, am I still trying to prove it? And am I trying to prove I'm worthy?
Yeah.
But every time it was like every great idea that comes out of your chemistry and pours into your consciousness, and suddenly you're aware of it. When it's really fun and you're juiced up and dealing with it, just recognize you're not proving it, you are it.
Right.
Because the
Yeah.
real mantra behind this is, I've got an open
Mhm.
ego. I got nothing to prove.
Mhm.
Thought I had something to prove. Oh yeah, Carrie. Well, you won't be as good on the thing, or back in the social media days, like you won't get as many clicks if you don't prove it, right? All that stuff. We all put a heavy trip on ourselves trying to prove we were social media kings and queens and sultans. That's not us.
Mhm.
For some people it is, but that's not who we are.
Mhm.
And this trying to prove I'm still worthy, trying to just prove it becomes
Mhm.
something that's simply empowered in the now when the sacral says yes because it gave you the energy and the emotions are clear and carries perfected form, has all these beautiful details and depth, and she sets herself about the pattern of dealing with it.
Mhm.
This is your way. I'm always setting myself about the pattern of dealing with the next thing I'm excited about. And I don't care how extreme it is. My name is Carrie. I love the extremes of humanity, just not too
Mhm.
close to me.
Yes.
Right. But
Yes.
but you watch extremes of humanity, and if you saw something on TV or you heard someone's talking about something, there you are saying, well, it's just a way, and
Mhm.
other friends are casting their judgment on that way, and
Yeah.
it's blah 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 blah, and you're like, well, I don't want to judge them yet. It's just an
Yeah.
extreme way
Yeah.
because that's part of the vessel of love. This 10 and this
Mhm.
15 in your body graph.
Mhm.
It's I have that whole incarnation cross. You have this. You have half of that. And that half says, I love me and I love the extremes of humanity and I love making things modest over time.
Mhm.
Don't mind me. I'm just quiet little Polly purebred with underdog and an underdog pill that sometimes hops out of the freaking telephone booth and goes off and
Yeah.
saves the day. Uh,
Yeah. 100%.
yeah. And the rest of the
And I love
time,
it.
yes.
It's
Uh,
fun.
The rest of the time, you're just experiencing the extreme of stuff. So someone comes to you and
Mhm.
says, this was so bad. That was so extreme. This person was this way. And they're expecting you to hop on board with that. Well,
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, they're going to be sorely mistaken.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's up to you to point that out because
Mhm.
you're actually one correcting humanity's intolerance with the various extremes of all the other humans, which they're supposed to be tolerant to.
Yeah.
Tolerant within reason, obviously,
Mhm.
um, we know what that ends up being. So, always just trying to prove the thing, not sure if you should prove it, feeling there's an inadequacy that comes with it, which is furthered
Mhm.
by this. So when I put these centers together, the biggest not self soup that pulls you away is I'm thinking about too many things. They don't matter. I'm thinking
Mhm.
about too much. I can't prove they matter. I try to prove they matter. I'm under pressure to get rid of all that because I just want to feel the intimate nature of what I want to hear and do. And I'm not in the mood for anything else, but I'm under pressure to try and prove it. And I don't feel good. And now I'm anxious, mentally anxious because too many things are flowing through.
Yeah.
I did it forward and backwards. I said it head down and then
So then
root.
what do I do about that?
Well, internalize that because
Yeah.
it's who you're not. It-
Yeah.
It's too much of a word salad to just throw into one mantra,
Right.
but over time, just even leaving tonight, you'll find little mantras and sayings to
Mhm.
pinch yourself with. What's that thing that people quitting smoking? They put a wrist on a
Yeah.
band on the wrist thing, or all kinds of things. Yeah, are you still friends with them? Well, I mean, just I remember when oh, I'm forgetting her name, but you guys were always there, at the same time, and it was so much fun. And you guys were big into, and you too, you were big into all the stuff, like different little techniques. You're
Mhm.
the queen of techniques. And I remember the whole crew of people I would talk to that were your friends were like,
Yeah.
"Well, I got 50 techniques this way," and I'm like, and I would get overwhelmed with it all. It was like I just read charts and stuff, and I say stuff, and and there were more than
Mhm.
once. I remember even you took time to try and help me with something, and I sort of forget what it was, but you could tell you were totally cool with all of it. Extreme
Mhm.
nature be damned, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
So the shaman of Carrie will stop
Mhm.
caring about what she has to prove, and things won't matter except right
Mhm.
now, for which there will be no pressure, as soon as she allows her depth to embrace her love of the extreme things that your shamanicness digs into
Mhm.
and shares that with the other, completes the circuit through the act of support and sharing.
Wow.
Boom. There you are. Yay. I got better, Carrie, by the way.
You're amazing, and you were amazing 6 years ago. That was, I mean, you read me so well.
Oh, it's so good. I just
Yeah.
love it. And I love you too. And I love everything, man. It's
Mhm.
been so long. I hope we stay in touch somehow. I know we probably only will a little bit, but maybe we will. You never know.
Yeah. Well,
It's
it's
all
been
good.
this long and we're still connected, and I appreciate you.
We are
This
connected.
was
No.
so needed. There's so many things that you shared was exactly what I needed to hear right now, so just thank
Mm.
you so much.
Oh my God, you're so
That was
welcome.
perfect.
I'm grateful because we are connected. I just realized, after all this
Mhm.
time, nothing's changed. So this is
No.
good.
Yeah,
Well, I love you. Say hi to your man for me, and
I
I'll read
will.
his chart if he wants.
I'm just curious, do you guys or do you do, relationship
Of
readings?
course, it's my
Because that
specialty.
would I as you were sharing that, I'm like, "Wow, this would be so cool to
Is he
just have."
open to his design at all? Like a
He
little
yeah.
bit?
Oh, and I mean, just dabbled into it. I think he's a 3/5,
Oh, I love
if
it.
I
Yeah, I seem
remember
to
right.
recall that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and he just absolutely loved kinda going on a very small rabbit hole of just some YouTube videos on it, and he's like,
Okay.
"That's me." But it
Right.
would be really cool to have my reading, his reading, and just have both of us kinda understand each other and then see how we complement each other. Yeah.
If you guys are open to it, then I would love to do it. And if he even just knows a little, I can do it with you both at the same time because
Yeah.
it becomes a matter of, oh, well, Carrie, your husband's got some of this. Have you noticed? Well, he can't help it. And
Yes.
then, but Carrie, your wife's got some of it. Well, she can't help it. So,
Yes.
and do think of things that are a little bit difficult, if there's any, you know what I mean? The things that, whatever, because those are the things to point to.
Mhm.
And then the things that are glorious that you love, so you can see what to just keep burning away at, because there's fire. And I
Mhm.
promise you there is. So,
Mhm.
yep.
Yeah.
I would love to. Hit me up. Yeah, yeah, you got my cell phone still, I bet.
Yeah.
Yep. Shoot me a
Beautiful.
text, Miss Carrie, and I love this, and I love you, and thank you.
Yeah.
This was
I love
great, Moana. I'm so glad the sound stuff worked out. I was
Me
ready to take a
too.
rain check, man, and
I know, I was
bam.
gonna say it was like Mercury retrograde nonsense, but hey, delayed is better than never. So it was fabulous. Thank you,
Mm,
Danny.
Yeah,
Tag
thank
yep.
team
you.
Much
out.
love. Bye, Carrie.
Bye, Danny.
So, Carrie, let everybody know what you have going on and where they can find you and all the things.
Yeah, so you have it down below. Thebeautyway.com is my website, and beauty is spelled with an I, not a Y. So you can find me there. Like we mentioned on this call, I don't have any social media, so this is literally the where you can find me. I do have an email as well, the Beauty Way Coaching at gmail.com, and they have that down below as well. So you can always email me and we can connect. If you go to my website, you'll see all of the offerings that I have. And if that interests you, then I would absolutely love to support you and just kind of be on your journey and your path with you and in whatever way is supportive for you.
Amazing. Thank you. I cannot wait to dive in with you with the somatic practices and now you having a little bit. I feel like with human design, you kind of get introduced to it, and then you're like, oh my God, my brain can't hold all of this. And
Yeah.
it's just one of those things, like very much like somatic work, you kind of just go back to,
Yep, you
and then
dip your toes
drip
in.
feed,
Yeah.
drip feed slowly, slowly.
Mhm,
It slowly starts getting more and more
mhm.
clear. So I hope you got more clear than
Yes.
you started out. So yay, that's so
Yeah.
exciting.
Well, I'm sure you've heard of the Gene Keys?
Of course.
Yeah, so I figured, and so while I've dabbled a little bit into that, so it was interesting as he was sharing it, there is such a similarity with some of the things that he's sharing with what I've learned with the Gene Keys, so that
I was
was
going to
really
say
cool, just
gene
that
keys came
connection.
out of human design.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So gene keys is just a more contemplative way to look at
Mhm.
your particular gates and lines and such and putting them in the sequence. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
all good stuff, just presented in a different platter.
exactly, exactly.
It's how
Yeah, that
I
was
like to look at,
amazing.
right? Amazing. So thank you again for
Yeah.
sharing your time and your energy with us. We're super grateful. And with that, friends, we are going on a break and we have some brand new guests for you in the new year. So if you're like, oh, I need some more Awaken Your Human Design, go check out our YouTube channel. We have been putting out some wonderfully shortened, edited versions of our previous streams. So they're all nice and bite sized and like really easy to dig into. So go tell your friends. Thank you for liking and subscribing. And we will see you in the new year. Bye.